already on the agenda.
I was just gonna say, we're gonna move Marsh, McClellan, and Sal up to the beginning, right after the finance report,
Okay.
so they can get.
Let's call meeting to order. Approval for last month minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Michael?
Okay, thank you. Start off just, as we continue our monthly reports to the board on, celebrating our employees and acknowledging those individuals celebrating an anniversary with us, this month. Couple big names on here and big milestones, at the table even. Dan Engelkis, 37 years. 37, man.
Wow.
Couple more big ones coming by. We have Dominic Paterno, 29 years as a paratransit operator.
Wow.
Tom Vaccarello, 29 years as a foreman in our maintenance department. Paula Hughes, 27 years.
Wow.
Not the next one, 37. I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah. Rookie. A couple others, with some big numbers in there. James Finelli, master mechanic, 26 years. Andrew Lumberg, 26 years. Fixed route operator. Todd Gilmore, 23 years, a general mechanic. Jimmy Harris, 5 years, paratransit operator. Patrick Dolan, 1 year, fixed route dispatcher. Selena Threadgill, 1 year, paratransit operator. Jacob Ammons, 1 year, fixed route operator. Charles Holmes, 1 year, paratransit operator. Terry Cullen, 1 year as a mechanic, and Nicholas Underheil, 1 year as a mechanic's helper. So to those folks, we appreciate their service, and certainly, whether you're in your first year, your 37th year, we value all of that and what you provide the district. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right. So with that, then we'll move on to our regular report, starting with the finance section, paying the bills. Including your packet were Williams McCarthy services rendered through April 24th, 2024. Were any questions on that?
No.
Okay. If none there, then we'll move on to the approval of accounts payable invoices. So, including the packet this month are the total invoices to be approved for $431,550.08. There's no questions on those. We can entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the accounts payable invoices for $431,550.08.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you. Moving on then, we have item B, the pension portfolio review for the period through May 14th, 2024, the pension investment statement for the month ending April 30th, 2024. For any questions on that?
No.
So continue to be positive. Then we have a draft finance report through March. We're looking to wrap that up. Just want to report to the board that you'll see that next month. But in the meantime, continue trend of positive variance on operating revenue up again 60%. March 8.5 year to date. And expenses, while slightly up 1.3 from March year to date, we still have a positive budget variance, just a shade under 1%. So we'll have a final report to you next month for approval for that. There's no other questions in the finance section. With the board's permission, we're going to move up. We have 2 presentations today for matters under consideration. I'd like to move up first up, item E5B, the approval of dental insurance renewal, along with E5C, discussion approval action for stop loss carrier renewal. Sal Marino from Cole Kiley, our broker, is here to go over both of those items in the packet. So, with permission, we can have Sal present on that and get him moving along, and provided we have no questions or concerns with that.
So, thank you, Mike.
Sal?
If it's okay, I thought we'd start with the dental renewal. That'll definitely be the easier of the two. We came off of a 2-year rate guarantee. They offered a 1 year and a 2 year. And the way our plan works is it's a self-funded dental plan. So we pay the claims and then we pay Delta Dental the admin expense, and they charge a fee for that. So they offered with this renewal on 7/1, either choose a 1 year or a 2 year. Based on the differential in the premium, and we can lock it in for 2 years. I'm recommending that we go with the 2-year rate guarantee.
And Susie, do you have anything on that in terms of?
I agree.
The staff concurs.
So that's the recommendation we're making, is to approve that, their concurrence, within budget, what we had expected, the increases on those.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation to accept a 2-year rate guarantee of $4.84.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And then Sal, the next one on the stop loss carrier renewal.
Okay. A couple things, I thought maybe just do a brief overview again of how the plan works and some of the different components. It just helps a little bit when you walk down because these spreadsheets can be a little confusing and sometimes they don't make a lot of sense. But again, our plan for the medical is also self-funded. Very similar to the dental, there's various components of the administration. We rent a PPO network. We pay a third-party administrator to pay the claims. We work with a RX vendor that's incorporated into the plan. Then the biggest component is what our claim costs are. So those are the two biggest factors, fixed costs and then what the claim costs are. Our claim costs this year have really been favorable. And from a loss standpoint, based on the deductible, there really was no real justification for the carrier to increase the rates to where they did. So I kind of dove into that with the underwriter for some explanation. And I think what's happened is that based on the demographics, which are the age, sex mix of the group, it's kind of caught up with us on the rates. And I took it out to several markets, and that kind of reinforced that thinking because some of them came in as much as 80% above where the current rates were. So it just kind of tells the tale that HCC, although this is going up, I think fairly significantly, they're right in line with where other carriers might be coming in. So that kind of left us with the option, what can we do to try to mitigate as much of this increase as we can? So the options we had was to, and we did this last year, our specific deductible, which is the amount that we're on the risk for every member within the plan. We're at 100,000. We increased it last year from 90 to 100. And then the other component that's in there, it's called an aggregating corridor, which it's like a little pool where anyone that hits, for example, currently 100, anything over 100, that starts feeding this corridor. And right now we're at 90,000. Yeah, 90,000 for that corridor. So the recommendation would be to increase from 90 to HCC's proposal of 120, which is a 30,000 increase in exposure. But the two advantages of that is it doesn't affect all the individuals to increase it from say 100 to the 110,000. We can budget that 30,000 of additional exposure. And that risk is offset almost dollar for dollar by a premium savings. So it's really almost automatic to just jump to that. And because of the history, I didn't really feel comfortable saying we should jump from 100 to 110 like we did last year from 90 to 100. Although we've had a good year, historically we have not had good years. So the concern was if we had, say, 3 people that went between 100 and 110, it would be a wash on the premium savings. If that 4th person hits, then we've lost. So for this year, I feel the best option would be to keep it at the 100, but increase that corridor and take that 30,000 in premium savings. And those are on there's 2 spreadsheets in your packet. One is labeled on top 100,000, and then option 2 is the one to keep the 100 and move to the 120 on the aggregating, which is the second number under option 2. So given all consideration, I think that is probably the best option.
And we had a long discussion about that, and certainly staff concurs with that as the move of the, moving to 100,000 and maintaining HCC as the provider, but the 100,000 with the option to renewal offer, what we were suggesting, moves that, as Sal was describing, that aggregating corridor to 120 from its current level.
Because we really can't lose on that, because even if we hit that 30,000 in claims, it's gonna be offset by the premium savings. So that's the maximum on the exposure. And again, because that corridor doesn't include all the carriers' overhead, that's how they can do that, because it's all purely a risk transfer from them to the district.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I agree again, and we did spend a fair amount of time tossing all the different options about last week, so certainly gave it a lot of thought before coming to a final conclusion.
To controls costs and at the same time manages the larger exposure that we're dealing with there. Certainly next year, coming back and revisiting what we may need to do and what it looks like. Again, it's been favorable expenses this year in relation to where we've been in the past, but as you've seen, that's a roller coaster on a year-to-year, month-to-month basis. But it seems to control costs as much as we can in this scenario. So it's included in the packet, then the recommendation, which staff concurs with, would accept the $100,000 HCC option to renewal.
So moved.
No second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Excellent.
Okay, one thing I didn't mention is, of the carriers that I went out to market to, there was one that was, I think, 25,000 lower in annual premium. But they put it's called a conditional laser. So if there's one individual in the group that they had a real concern for, so they said if a certain treatment starts, then they would put a $250,000 higher deductible, or a deductible of $250,000 on that person, retroactive to the effective date of the plan renewal. Didn't feel that was even something to even consider, just way too much risk.
Great.
Great.
Definitely agree.
Well, thanks as always, Sal. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming
Oh,
and
thanks
explaining
for
that to
having
the
me.
board.
Okay,
Your
great.
hard work in putting that together.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Sal.
Have a good rest of the meeting.
You too. Thank you. All right, so then, following along, E8, item B, the approval of the workers' comp insurance renewal. So I'd like to move that next in line behind Sal. And with us, we have Miranda from Marsh McFarland, our risk broker, who's here to present on what we have to offer here in a recommendation.
Hi, so my name is Miranda Lambert. I represent Marsh McLennan Agency, formerly a Insurance Agency, which is maybe familiar to everybody. We handle the district's workers' compensation program. Thank you to the board for your time to present the proposal, and thank you to Dan for all of his help behind the scenes, getting information, answering questions, and working with us to get this done in a timely manner. So earlier in the year, we estimated a fairly sizable increase in this renewal due to the claims history. We were thinking it would probably be somewhere between 18 and 25% increase. So when we received the renewal from Illinois Public Risk Fund, we were very happily surprised to see that overall it was a 12% increase, and 10% of that is your payroll exposure going up. So there's really only a 2% rate increase in there, which was a really phenomenal renewal. We did go out to the marketplace and we approached several carriers. We did get some indications for some higher retention programs. One of the other carriers that we talked to, who actually writes your property casualty insurance, estimated renewal premium between 1.3 and 1.5 million for a first dollar program. Your renewal came in at 867,989 from IPRF. So we look at all of those things together, we see that's a fairly very positive renewal for the district. We also looked at retentions and deductibles to see if it would make sense for you to take on some of that risk in-house again. And all of our analytics are pointing to, because of the favorable premium, it doesn't really make sense for you to consider a deductible or retention at this time, to stay with the first dollar program with IPRF. And The safety grant they're awarding the district this year is $28,926, which can be used to trainings, any kind of safety equipment, that type of stuff. So yes, we felt like it was a pretty good renewal at the $867,989. Any questions about any of the information or data within there?
It's just nice to have.
Yeah, I'm glad to see.
Over. Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to see where it came in.
Dan or Drex, you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think that summed it up pretty well.
Yeah, we were, every year, we go through the process and we're always waiting for the hammer to fall because, they're paying out a lot more than we're paying in, so, but hopefully, we track and have a good year and Drex is, we're working on a bunch of stuff with the money we get from the safety program, so, hopefully,
Money well spent.
yeah, money well spent, so, yeah, so staff does concur with the recommendation to renew with IPRF at the amount of the $867,989.
I would make a motion to approve workers' compensation coverage with IPRF.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Miranda.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Miranda. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So move on then, jump back to, next item, which is E3 operations, item A. Included in your packet was the fixed route ridership report for April. Again, trending in the positive direction, up nearly 20%, this April, for last April, still well above 30% per year to date. So again, continue to have those positive signs. Related to, we talked last month about just where we at, with individual route performance and, want to share with the board, some supplemental information we pulled together to look at, how we're doing and how some of the routes compare from 2019 and what how they're performing then to how they're performing now. So, in the packets, was an outline of, real quickly, our 10 highest ridership routes in 2019 and how they compare to the ones that are in 2023. And these are just based on calendar year, which are the most recent full year of data that we had to compare. In that top 10, the top 4 is the same, right? Obviously different levels of performance, but pretty much the same. In that whole list of 10, it's the same 10. There's some routes that have moved up a little bit more than others during that time, in terms of compared to the peer group, namely 7th Street. Route 14, 7th Street has moved up and shifting places with Kishwaukee. The other ones pretty much have been the same, just a little bit of reshuffling in those numbers. And just for reference, in the first 2 pages were just these, we'll talk about these top 10 lists and so forth, but the back end data, which has the raw numbers that we pulled together, are the 3rd page and the 4th page, so we can reference back to those. But what I'm going to do is kind of keep going through the first page here. 10 highest ridership routes in 2023 is a percentage of 2019. So how close are they back to normal is the second chart, which, as you can see in this list, you start getting into a little bit mixed bag of day routes, evening routes, and Sunday routes. But as you see, the 43 West State Clifton on Sundays is the closest we have, which is 83% of what it used to be. Here you see the 7th Street route is going back to the chart above where ridership growth is happening. That's a route that's back to 80% of what it used to be. Bell School is up, low ridership route though. Kishwaukee and evening route is up. North Main in the daytime is up. So just kind of a general list of what's closest to where it was before. Some of this is, a little context where some of these are very low ridership routes, so it's not that difficult to get back to that number. But some of the ones that pop out here are examples: 7th Street, North Main. You see State Street's on the list, even rural's on the list. Those are some of our day routes that are above at the top. There are top routes that are recovering more quickly, or in some respects retaining ridership more so than others. 3rd chart looks at just where have we seen ridership growth in the past year from one route to the next. And again, you see a lot of that in the evening and Sunday routes, but Another big jump in there in day routes is Kishwaukee and School Street, along with, were those the routes that have kind of climbed the most over the past year from 2022 to 2023. Finally, on the next page, we looked at the numbers in a little bit different light, comparing 2019 to 2023, just looking at passengers per revenue hour. So what are our most productive, if you will? So every hour of service, the routes out there, how many riders have the highest per hour average in there, or how many routes have the highest per average in there. And so here you see North Main and Auburn, Rockton, School Street all stay at the top three from 2019 to 2023. Kind of moving down the list, you start seeing similar routes that are on the first page. Highest ridership route, most productive route. So you see 7th Street, State Street, Kishwaukee, all are on that list of routes that just in terms of their per hour performance have the most rides on it. And then below you see in terms of the highest passenger per revenue hour by a percentage, similar to the chart on the prior page where what is retaining the most ridership, we're getting close to what it had before in terms of its overall performance. Kilburn's is a notable one on there, a day route. I see North Main, 7th Street, State Street, so forth. So those are just the quick highlights on the top 10 lists for doing late night with David Letterman. There's supposed to be that. But kind of like I said, the raw data is in pages 2 and 3, where you start looking at here's the ridership total by broken into all the routes, how they compare to 2022 and 2023, and then the associated percentages of how 2022 compares to 2023, how 2022 compares to 2019, how 2022 compares to 23 compares to 2019. And then that change that we talked about from 2023, who's going the fastest. And then the last page was, we're looking at just, again, raw data. We're looking at passengers per revenue hour. How do our 2019 performance, per hour performance compare to the 2023 numbers? And then the associated, percentages of what they look like. So it gives you a sense, some context to what we're talking about on some of these routes and how we're doing. And so as we're making decisions moving forward about what tweaks and changes we may want to consider, these are the things that we're certainly looking at in terms of performance. So, any just general questions?
Is there any anecdotal evidence on I see North Main popping up a lot, that the hideout reconstruction with the designated bus stops built into the design, that's helping?
I don't think there's anything that we can point to necessarily on that. A lot of that's driven by new destinations on there, with, what am I trying to think of?
We have to survey the people that ride.
Not Remedies, I'm sorry. What's the one? Rosecrans, thank you. Midway up there, and then some of the facilities that are in at the mall up there, some of the businesses that are up in the mall, plasma centers and so forth. Those are really driving, I think, the North Main ridership more than anything else. Obviously then, there's a dense or residential area surrounding North Main on north of Auburn in that area. I think, those have just been more of, we've retained ridership through that corridor more so than others, but I think the destinations along there drive a lot of that too. The Rosecrans. Yeah. So, just take a look at that. Let me know if you have any other general questions as you review that, and as we move forward. This is kind of that granular level of data that we can continue providing, but just at least as a quick snapshot of how things compare. All right. With that, then we can move on to the demand response report. March, we had quite a bit more activity than we've had in past month. I think last month we had that growth in our overall ridership. March took another jump, up over 25% in March, up to 7% increase for year to date on that service. So as the weather and people get out and about, they're going to start continue to see that going up. Any questions on that report?
No.
Okay. So moving on, then we'll get into maintenance of facilities, facilities and vehicle report. First up, we have the report on fixed route paratransit vehicles, included in your packet from April. Were there any questions on that item?
No.
Yeah, and then, we put in your packet as a kind of supplement to that report this month, information on the battery electric bus performance. So kind of you get to page 35, 36 of your report. I want to kind of share with you where we're at and some of the information that our group, CTE, has been helping us with putting KPIs together and monitoring the performance of that. Just to get a sense of how those are performing our initial rollouts, so we can start really understanding what the impact of those vehicles are on our fleet and how we plan for the future. So that, Dan, do you want to walk us through some of
Yeah,
the
I'll walk
slides?
through. The first page is just kind of an overview of what we go over with every month with them. We spend usually right around an hour with them on the phone. There's actually a full report's 52 slides of data, so we'll spare you that part. But as Mike said, this is kind of things we cover. It's energy utilization, bus utilization, energy use, how efficient were we? How are the chargers working? They also track if there's any issues with any of the vehicles, and we update them regularly on what's going on with those. So on the next page, so for April, you can see that we ran just a little over 8,000 miles of battery electric in the month of April. And then they also have the total since June of last year when we started running them, a little over 61,000 miles. So they also break out, we send them all the information on our diesel fleet, our diesel hybrid fleet for comparison. So they have all that. So you can see here, they also have how many miles we ran for each one of those types of vehicles. Just for reference, as a reminder, we have 6 battery electric buses. We try to use 3 to 4 a day. And then there's 23 hybrids and still 12 diesels left. So just so you have some reference there. Then we just have a little chart like for April, what vehicles, what percentage of the total miles. You may notice 2204, there's only at 4%. We had an unrelated issue with that we're waiting for some parts for, so that one didn't get ran much. On the next page, it gives total fleet hours. So almost a year's worth there. We got 3,441 hours. And this is a little chart on the side there, just shows the balance for the month of vehicles, the hours that they drove. I think that is actually, my apologies, that is actually cumulative for the time from the beginning. So it really just shows that we're doing a decent job. George's guys are doing a good job trying to get each one on the road and balance them out. So then the next page is fuel efficiency by fuel type. You can see the top line there. So what they base it on, there's a formula, but it's miles per diesel gallon equivalent is the number there. So you see we're like at 19.4. So for the energy we're putting into the buses, we're in theory getting 19.4 miles to a gallon, which is, as you can see, they're in the middle, 4.5 times better than our diesel fleet, which is at 4.3 miles per gallon, and 3.1 times better than the average hybrid, and those are at 6.2. So been pretty happy with that so far. Any questions so far? All right, I'll keep going.
That's a huge, that's a huge difference.
Yes, yeah. And those numbers are gonna even get better because once we are fully charging this building, our costs are gonna go down. Right now, we're charging during the daytime for the most part, and so we're paying peak electricity. Once we get everything worked out here, which hopefully should be soon, I know I've been telling you that for a while, but we won't charge anything until after 7 o'clock. And ComEd, your off-peak hours start at 7 PM, so that's gonna make it even more efficient.
Wow.
So one of the other things they do for us is they break it down by route. They take our CAT AVL system, Clever, they take all that information. One of our supervisors generates a report for them, we send it to them so they can break it down by route. So just for an example, here's this Route 2, which is School Street. That's the route we've kind of been using from the beginning. Now we have on some other routes too, but average fuel efficiency for April was 1.6 kilowatt hours per mile. Keep in mind with electric, the lower the number, the better. as opposed to miles per gallon, you want higher, this you want lower, because it's telling you how much electricity you use for, it's kind of a hard concept to grasp, but yeah, so, 1.6 is pretty good, so. And we've been right in that range pretty steadily, and these reports are gonna continue to get better the more we use, they have more data to derive from, so.
And when we originally baseline that and try to build in what we should expect, the amount they said that we should expect on average is somewhere above 2. So we've been steadily below 2 on some of these routes, which has been very positive to see.
So the next page, it compares just for fuel costs, so fuel/electricity. You can see there for the average for, since we've been tracking it, that the battery electrics are 0.43 cents per mile. The diesel's 63 cents and the hybrids are 44 cents. So like I was mentioning, as our electricity rates go down, we're charging later night. This number for the BEVs is even gonna get lower, so it'll really show out a little bit better that they are more efficient in the long run, so. The next page, just some interesting last couple pages here, is they track how much greenhouse gases we're eliminating by running these vehicles. So you can see, so GHG is greenhouse gases, so for what we've ran through April, so this is from June of last year, our diesel buses have produced a little bit over 379,000 pounds of greenhouse gases. But our battery electrics have offset that by saving 156,528 pounds of greenhouse gases for an overall emission reduction of over 200,000 pounds of greenhouse gases. So you flip to the next page, that reduction kind of translated into carbon removed by the air by this amount of trees, the homes, 6.7 million smartphones charged. So we get this every month. It's just kind of interesting to see how much it's actually, helping the environment. So, and then the last page is just kind of a summary of the April stuff. So the 8,000 miles, that's the most we ran in any month since we've had it in service. Same for the hours, and we did get to 1.7. That's the fleet average we've had since we started, and Route 2, the school street, we had that down to 1.6. The 42 cents is the lowest cost per mile since October. And then, as I mentioned, we reduced over 200,000 pounds of greenhouse gases. So I think we can certainly see that they are beneficial, and the cost, although a little bit higher upfront, that it's doing what it should be doing. So, any questions?
Just a comment. I like this report, and I was just thinking, when I first joined the board, we had just approved the sustainability policies. And for me, it's just, as you're talking about it, just made me go back to the decisions that all of us have been making, the investments we're making. There's a real, this is really good to see. So thank you.
And you guys may remember, I think it's a couple meetings ago, we approved the energy contract. If you remember, we agreed to pay just a little bit more for a kilowatt hour for cleaner energy. So the stuff we're charging with it, it's not coming from a coal plant, it's coming from clean sources. So
Right.
that's
And
good
that-
as well.
And that gets factored into this calculation at the end as well. It credits you for those decisions and applies that into your carbon emissions reductions as well. So that will accelerate this equation they're using for this. But yeah, I always like when I end the report on a monthly basis, this one slide that kind of, what is 222,000 pounds of greenhouse gas equate to? I mean, we went out and it's like, it's 118 acres of trees. Right? That's the amount that they reduce in a year. It's pretty substantial, or the 1,670 trees planted and grown in 10 years. I mean, that's some substantial stuff in terms of what the positive impact of those decisions are. So we'll continue to share. Like I said, this is something that the CT is partnered with us on when they helped us put together the grant applications and have helped us benchmark this with these KPIs, and something that we're able to then continue to track through through this first year and beyond. So we will continue to share. Any other questions? We'll move on to the next items, which are be with Dan, the maintenance facilities update report and facility expansion update, which Dan's report is included in your packet. And Dan, if you want to go over some of those items with the board?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're really close on the charging infrastructure. They had some punch list items for our contractor to come in and do. Then they had more punch list items for the contractor to do. Those were completed last Friday.
Yep.
So they're reviewing all the photos now. It looks like maybe one of the chargers may be ready to go. We're gonna test that tomorrow.
Yeah, the one that's green, probably.
Yeah, we have one that looks like it's ready to go. It's been a challenge to work with these people. It's been difficult. Communication's not very good. We do have all 14 of the vans in service, the new Parafanza vans. We had a couple of issues with some iPads, which Doc and Brent have been working through, so those seem to be well received. Did get a little bit of bad news. The Ford diesel hybrids that were supposed to be built next month, which got delayed because of power steering pump shortage. Now they're saying out of the 4, they can only get power steering pumps for 2 of them right now. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward with getting those 2 buses built. And then we don't have a timeline yet for the other 2. So, but we do have some 09s down there that we desperately need to get rid of. So instead of holding the whole thing up, we're just gonna go ahead and get the 2 built and get those out here. So facility project, Paula, correct me if I'm wrong here, we're still at IDOT at a very high level.
Right.
Waiting a stamp of approval, and same with the city. I think we're on round 3 or 4 of request for information that our code consultant has been working with the city. So we have been working with ACOM. I think we awarded the consultant here a while back for the telephone replacement system. So we've had calls with them every couple of weeks, and if you scroll down, there's a timeline for that project. So I'm sorry, not that project, never mind that. So we've been working with them. Now we're dialing down to each individual, what they call like a call group, like the maintenance people, the operations people. So scheduling meetings, they seem to be going well, but you know, we have a lot of questions. The system's so old, we don't even know like some of the stuff that's out there. So we've asked a lot of questions of the consultant, but he seems to be being patient with us. So
So the goal obviously is to get a specification together to get that out to bid here so that we can move forward with getting the system replaced. So that's.
And then the last thing is the paratransit software project. If you scroll down, there's a timeline that they provided us. Ron's heading that project up. Was it called this Friday with him?
Last Friday.
That's right.
But we have another one scheduled for
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. Thank you. So moving that forward, that's, you know, as I think we all know, it's been a long overdue project. So we're looking forward to getting that rolling. It's another one that's gonna take a while, as you can see. You know, looks like mid-September before we predict that everything goes okay, but you know, we're gonna hope a little quicker than that, but I think Mike talked about before, it's gonna be really nice for the user-facing side. They can do a lot of stuff on their own, cancel rides, which now we're fielding phone calls to cancel rides where they can just go on their phone and cancel it, which saves us a lot of work. So that's all I have.
Any questions?
None.
Good. All right, we'll move on to E5 and the HR report. We have our claims history report. It was included in your packet. You mentioned a couple times during sales presentation, some positive numbers again, so we're trending in the right directions. Any questions on that? Cool. No. All right, we'll move on then to E6, the marketing report. We have approval of advertising contracts. So Orlando, you want to cover what we got this month?
Yeah, so these are more so kind of updates. We had a contract, remedies. They wanted to kind of extend to a contract that they already have, add more signs on. So we went ahead with Mike's approval, approved that. We added that in the packet as well. Because they were already a recurring advertiser with us and they already had a current contract. We thought that was pretty good to move forward with. No special service requests, but I mentioned Memorial Day Parade the city hosts every year. We'll be helping with that again. Historically, we've used the trolley, so we're doing it again this year. Typically, we pick the alderman up from the city, and they'd be a part of the parade. So that parade is from 9 to 12 on the 27th. So just be aware of that, and we'll be in the parade again, and, you know, with a nice trolley and all that good stuff.
We do have that one, special service request we need to add,
Oh,
to include for the board's consideration. So, this was somewhat of a last minute one, but the Convention Visitors Bureau reached out this morning with concerns over, you know, the attendance that may be coming to the Music and Arts Festival that's planned this weekend in the Madison and State Street area. They got a weekend long event there that they'll be hosting starting Friday night through Sunday afternoon. And such that they felt, you know, trying to get people to and from there, and having folks utilize the parking decks and so forth. They may need some additional assistance both with accessible transportation and just getting ease of transporting from those locations over to their event space. Friday night, we already have the city market event going on, which we've already got the trolley running, which is what they're just saying. That's great, because they would want those folks to use the trolley to get back and forth. But the road request becomes Saturday and Sunday, yes. And so they're asking for the city market trolley and the route and the service to be extended on for Saturday afternoon into the evening, and then Sunday afternoon as well. So just running that city market trolley from an extra hour on Friday night till about 10:30. And then on Saturday from noon to 10:30, and on Sunday from 11 to 6. So this will be in support of the city-sponsored event and to help with park and ride, shuttling back and forth and accessible transportation.
With the creative music and art.
Yeah.
That's May 31st and June 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, May 31st of June.
So a week from.
Yes, correct. So we got a request today, but it's for May 31st through that. Yes, thank you for noting
I
that.
didn't think it was this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, City Market Trolley runs Friday night and Saturday night, so it's really just an extension of the trolley service.
So it's not part of the Memorial Day service.
Correct.
So the impact to our team.
Yeah. It's just some additional service that we'll have to provide and some extension a little bit in the Friday evening with coverage or Saturday evening with coverage. The same person operating it on Friday will be this, will operate an extra hour. Saturdays just one person in the trolley, Sunday, one person in the trolley. So that's doable, and we've got folks that we've got out to line up the schedule.
Okay, we'll make a motion to approve the special service request.
That's second.
In favor? Aye.
Thank you.
One more mention.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Community outreach. I know that's something that, we'd like to start talking about more, the things that we're doing throughout the month to talk to the people. So me and Ron went to, a disability community resource fair earlier this month. Pretty good. Not, I wouldn't say a large amount of people, but, it was at an Airway Village, good resources for individuals with disabilities. So obviously we were there with, our paratransit services, giving out information and talking to different individuals. So we talked to, a bunch of different people with different cases, like, hey, you know, I might be waiting on my application, or hey, what are the services that you guys have? Or, I have this individual that might need this, or, I have this student. We saw a couple of teachers from different, schools. So it was really a good opportunity to get out and, you know, not just be behind the email or be behind, a comment or things of that nature, and really talk to individuals who, you know, might not be as tech savvy, or just like, hey, you know, I want to talk to a person, and, you know, it's a little bit harder to get through the phone lines now because we have so many calls coming in. So it was a great opportunity. I think it's really good to get our parent transit services out there and let people know the processes behind it. Because a lot of times when you're just on the front facing piece, you think that it goes a certain way, but you don't realize all the back work that we have and the individuals that do that work. So Ron, anything?
You know, we had one couple that was going through the school district trying to get rides for their daughters. And they said they've submitted 3 applications. I checked and we had not received any. So I contacted Monday, got them an application, got her approved, and they were happy. So.
Yeah, so good success stories like that came out of that. So that was that.
Excellent.
Excellent.
All right, that then we'll move on. E7, no report from grants this month. Um,
I have some next month.
Next month, right? E8, safety and training, including report, item A, safety and training update report for April. I'll include for review. Any questions on that? Anyone know, Rex?
That was a much better month than past.
Yeah, that's probably.
All right, no question on that. Then we'll move on to E9, other business. First, we have for your consideration, item A, approval of intergovernmental agreement to provide general public demand response service to the county of Boone. This is an update from last month. We talked about the change in service to Boone County and the Belvedere area and elimination of fixed route service with the increase in the demand response service that's being provided. The IGA went to the Boone County Board last week and was approved and moves to now our board for consideration for approval. Just basically codifies all of the changes and takes out all the fixed route language and fair transit language and replaces that demand response language exclusively. So basically the same IGA that we had and we were operating under previously, just an update of that. And this continues over then with approval year to year unless otherwise notified by either party that we want to terminate. So it's it rolls over if you will. Oh, one thing I will note in here, just we do have an additional notation in the contract regarding reservation scheduling dispatching software. So when we procured, went out to bid for our demand response paratransit software, we had partnered, if you will, with SMTD and Boone County. One being that, SMTD is already our partner and had them on the evaluation team, but we also included Boone County in the event that they also wanted to consider switching over to this software as well and taking advantage of the opportunity to kind of consolidate and put everything in our area and what we touch under one software. A lot of advantages in that around coordination, scheduling and so forth. And so that's one item that's built into here is that they wanted to exercise that option and join us in this, in the service agreement. So this outlines how we would then charge them for accessing our service or accessing our software, which we were the awardee of capital funds to purchase that. So there's a lot of, as a result of that, initial startup costs that are covered under that grant award that would not have impact on them for the first couple of years. So in the remaining years of our agreement, they would be paying a service fee, if you will, per rider that we've come up with an agreeable calculation for that. So that's included in this new IGA that wasn't before, a little bit different, but I think it just speaks to the cooperative nature of all of our areas and working together to leverage these grant funding opportunities and these softwares to make it easier for the rider. So that's included there. And the other thing that I'll mention that I almost forgot was that we also agreed with the county to waive the additional fare that we were charging, they were charging for transfers. So we basically operate as two separate systems, and if we had a rider that was continuing their path or their trip from one to the other, they would essentially be paying two fares to make their trip. So whereas the county would pick somebody up for $1.50 and they may bring them to the Keene Age Center to transfer to our fixed route service, when they got on our fixed route service, they would pay another $1.50. We both agreed to waive that so that the individual, for their previously or today, for a total round trip in that scenario would cost them $6. In the future, it'll just cost them $3 round trip, $1.50 in each direction. So that was something else that we thought was of value and change that was warranted to not, burden the rider or punish the rider for using the service and make it. So we removed that from our agreement moving forward. For that, then that's for your consideration.
Sounds pretty good. I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement to provide general public demand response service to the county of Boone.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And then the last item we have for you today is the approval of the RMT social media use policy, which was included in the packet for review. As we're going through the process of updating our employee handbook and just ensuring that we have policy coverage on a number of fronts, both internally and externally. This was one item that has come up as an area that we needed to make sure that we've got some structure and a policy in place to both manage how we manage our online content in our social media sites, but also then what the expectations are relative to how people may interact with that site, including our own employees. So this basically codifies all of that. And in terms of the item that I would note to the board, that's one change from what our current approach is, that with our social media site, it's two-way communication, if you will, where posting messages or asking questions. We're changing that to just essentially make it a one-way communication stream. We're pushing information out, that it's a news source, that we encourage people then to follow up with questions and concerns directly with us. That way they're getting to somebody directly, as opposed to, if you had a concern, posting it in this forum or this forum, as opposed to our standard complaint channels. We start kind of getting a very wide net of areas where we have to consolidate comments to try to follow up with folks. This provides a great deal of consistency for us moving forward and allows us to manage that content and manage that feedback in a much more structured way. So this outlines that as well as we move forward. So something we didn't have in place before, we started moving to this back when Bruce Brown was here and developed a draft, and COVID happened and kind of fell off the plate, and now we kind of circle back to say, hey, this is something that we need to get in line. So legal counsel reviewed this for us, ensure that we're compliant with all of the steps and things that we've outlined.
Move that we approve the RMT social media use policy.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. With that then, that concludes the agenda. We have our next meeting scheduled for Monday, June 24th at 3:30. Oh.
Good for you guys? Okay, I'll send out a calendar invite.
All right.
I'll move, so move.
Second. Sorry.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's